Hey everyone, I'm Dapper of Dapper Inspirations. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my brand new series, Sword in the Stone. But, without further ado, let's get into it. So what is Sword in the Stone? Well, Sword in the Stone is going to be a 3-part series, all premiering on Dapper Inspirations, obviously. But it's going to be a series where I dissect the Sword in the Stone story and some of the physical attributes of the Sword in the Stone, and see what qualities the Sword in the Stone story, the tale, and the physical attributes of the Sword in the Stone relate to Christianity. So, with that being said, this 3-part series is going to be premiering on the channel. Hopefully this video is going to be posted on Sunday. It is going to be posted on a Sunday. And the next 2 episodes will come out the next Sunday and then the Sunday after that. But, without further ado, let's get into today's episode of Sword in the Stone. Chosen. So, what is the Sword in the Stone? So, the Sword in the Stone is a common fairy tale, mostly of British or English depictions, of this boy named Arthur, who, when he was young, he pulled this sword out of the stone and then became the true King of England. Now, that's a very bare bones and basic description of the Disney fairy tale, or just the fairy tale of the Sword in the Stone. Now, going into a bit more detail, at least for the Disney interpretation, is that Arthur was made fun of. He was mistreated until he pulled the sword out of the stone. And we don't just see this with the Disney depiction, we see this with a lot of the depictions of King Arthur, that people made fun of him. People said, "You'll never get anywhere." And people mistreated Arthur until he became the chosen one. He pulled the sword out of the stone, and then instantly everyone respected him. Now, you're probably wondering, that's fine and dandy that King Arthur was mistreated and disrespected, but how does that relate back to Christianity? Well, here's how. We have a chosen one. That's a pretty common fact, the Messiah. And the Messiah was mistreated. The Messiah was made fun of. The Messiah was crucified. Are you starting to see their similarities yet? Because the Messiah was mistreated just like Arthur was. Until one thing changed. That people realized, dang, he is the Son of God. I forget what verse it is, but in the Bible, and if I find what verse it is, I'll put it up on screen. In the Bible, it says something along the lines of this. He saw, and then the guard saw what happened, and he said, "He is truly the Son of God." This was right after his crucifixion. This was right after, when he was up on the cross. The guard realized he is the Messiah. He was the chosen one. And we see this with King Arthur too. Once he became the chosen one, once people realized he was the chosen one, he was respected. But I know a lot of you are probably wondering, but Dapper, people knew he was the Messiah before his crucifixion. Yes, they did. But there were some people who said, "No, you're not the Messiah. You're just a man. And those people were called the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees and the Pharisees were almost entirely responsible for the crucifixion of Jesus. Now, not to say that the crucifixion wouldn't have happened if they wouldn't have made it happen. But the Pharisees and Sadducees set up the crucifixion. They put him on trial for blasphemy. And they even did this after they saw him make a blind man see, make a leper be healed, raise a man from the dead. After seeing all of this, they're just like, no, you're still not God. And I think they may have believed that Jesus was the Messiah. But they didn't want to lose their power. They didn't want to lose their power over the Jewish community. Now, the Pharisees and the Sadducees had a lot of power. They were the leaders of the church, and you could see them on the streets bowing down to pray. And Jesus even says, do not be like the Sadducees or Pharisees, one of the two. Do not, when you pray to me in silence. Do not boast. And all the Pharisees and Sadducees, they really didn't want to lose that power. So they killed the chosen one. They killed him. Whether they believed he was the Son of God or not, they crucified him. And it's mind-boggling to me that after even the people saw all of this, that when he was put up, like, do you want to free this guy who's murdered people, stolen, or do you want to save this guy who has done no wrong? They chose the man who did all the murders and all of the crimes. But you're probably wondering, well, okay, Jesus was the chosen one. That makes sense. But were there any other chosen ones? And yes, there were. There were, well, 12, but we'll get into that. So, new shirt, new day as well. So yesterday, or the day I recorded this video, really, I was watching over the footage, and the first half I thought, really great, that's what I wanted to do. But the second half, I'm just like, yeah, that shouldn't have been my focus. And I was listening to this song. I don't know the exact name of the song, but I'll quote one of the lyrics here in a second. And I'm just like, that's what I should be focusing on. That's because that relates more to the Sword in the Stone than what I was talking about. So, yeah. And I am a human. I make mistakes, and evident why I'm refilming this. And, yeah. So, 12 chosen ones. The 12 chosen ones were the disciples, if you haven't already put that together. And all of them have one similarity. And a lot of the Bible characters have one similarity. That they were all outsiders. The 12 disciples, a lot of them were fishermen. One, Matthew, who would later go on to write the book of Matthew, one of the 4 Gospels, was a tax collector. And speaking of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Luke was the first one to write the Gospels. To write one of the Gospels. But he wasn't even in the 12 disciples. So in that sense, he was also an outsider. You see, Luke was a part of 70 other people that decided, well, we're not a part of Jesus' 12 disciples, but we are still going to follow him. And Jesus had really 82 disciples that followed him around most everywhere. Isn't that mind-boggling, though? He has his main 12, but 70 other ones. And one of those 70, and I'm not sure if the theologians or anyone really knows who all of those 70 people were, but one of them was Luke. And that's mind-boggling that an outsider who wasn't even in the 12 disciples went and wrote one of the most powerful books in the Bible. And looking at Luke, look at how powerful, look at how much effect it had over Matthew, Mark, and John. Matthew, Mark, and John all stem with similar ideas as Luke. And Luke wasn't even a part of the 12 disciples. And we keep seeing this theme of God choosing people that no one else would choose. No one else would even consider for his glory. King David, before he was King David, he was a shepherd. He had 11 brothers, I think. I'm not exactly sure about that. If that number isn't correct, I'll put up the correct number on screen. But David had all these other brothers, and when I forget his name. If you guys have not already noticed, I am awful with names, and I cannot remember names for the life of me. But one of the prophets went to David's family and saw all of his brothers, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the oldest brother, the biggest and strongest, should be the king." But God's like, "No." God chose David, an outsider. And in reality, the story of King David and King Arthur are really similar. For King Arthur, it was the sword and the stone. For King David, it was God choosing him. And they were both chosen at such a young age. But they both became, well, at least King Arthur in his stories, became one of the most, I would say, at least for King David, the best king in all of history. King David was a great king, but that doesn't mean he didn't make mistakes. He did, and if you've read about David, you know what mistakes he made. But God chose him for a purpose. God chose outsiders like Moses, who had a speech impediment, Abraham, and so many other outsiders that all changed the world. That quote from that song that sparked all of this redo film thing was 12 outsiders that will change the world. 12. And he was right. 12 outsiders changed the world. So the question I have for you today is, yes, you may feel like an outsider. You may feel like you got nothing left. You may feel empty. And I know a lot of us do right now. But if God chose David, if God chose these outsiders, if God chose a tax collector of all people, why can't he choose you? Why can't he choose you for his glory? No matter how much you've sinned, no matter how bad you think your sin is, God can and will use you for his glory. A lot of bad stuff has happened recently. I mean, COVID-19 hit us all like a truck. And I know a lot of people are feeling like they're outsiders, like they're not even in society anymore. How do I know this? Because I'm kind of feeling like this right now. That I can't do anything from home. But that's why I have this channel. And that's why I also have an Instagram page. Also, if you haven't yet followed me on Instagram, go do that. I post some cool stuff, and we just, at the time of when this video comes out, we just finished a really cool event called Rake Week. And if you want to go participate in Rake Week, I'll have the poster thing either in the description, or you can go check it out on my Instagram. But That's what I think God has chosen me to do. This, to run Dapper Inspirations. And I know, we have 31 subscribers, and that's not a whole lot. That's not millions of subscribers, and we're not reaching a lot of people right now. But that doesn't matter, really. Honestly, it's not about the millions. It's not about the masses. It's about the one person. That one person that you can save. That one person who you can change. That's all it's about, really. And if this channel ever does get bigger, my focus isn't going to be on the masses. It's going to be on the one. The challenge I have for you today is do what God calls you to do. Whatever that may be, whether it be in worship, whether it may be to preach, or run a YouTube channel like, I don't know, Dapper Inspirations, and I don't know who that guy is. But yeah, go do what God has called you to do. Because you were chosen for a purpose. So go live out that purpose.
Hey everyone, I'm Lil Jazz of Dapper Inspirations. Please subscribe and like to Dapper Inspirations and turn on notifications. And if this video gets to 10 likes, I'll be featured in more. Catch you next time. Peace.